Welcome to Thriving Tribesmen. My name is Curry, your host, and I'm excited to be making this episode. No BS guide to the sex talk. Now, when I was thinking about this episode, I was thinking about my granddad, and I've been thinking about my granddad a lot lately because he's not been well. He's gone sick, and my mom is worried that he might actually be very terminal. So all my prayers to him, and hopefully you guys keep him in your prayers. But I was thinking about him and just the time that we spent a lot of time when we were heading the cattle. And unlike some of you guys in America, you would have either quad bikes or you'd have horses. We generally walked for most of the things. So would milk the cows in the morning, and then we'd sort of let them go. But sometimes we'd herd them to places where they can go and eat. Now, while we do that, we had to consider the places that we would go. So there's one section there'll be baboons, which is generally safe for the cows, and then the other places will be either hyenas or leopards. Everywhere we were, there's hyenas and leopards. So those were if you went further out, and then you have these African hunting dogs. Again, just as dangerous. So not just dangerous for the cows, but also dangerous for us. But generally, the wild animals didn't interact with humans as much. It's very rare that you got attacked. Again, it always came down to how much food was available. But it was very rare to become animal food. So anyways, again, it's very rare if it only happens when you end up in the wrong place at the wrong time. So we end up getting our cows because it was during a time when it was a little bit of a drought. So in order to get the cows fed, we needed to we kept pushing them further and further closer to the forest where there was leopards and hyenas. So, but we knew that we just thought, and generally we'd push them there, walk away, come back, and you still have all your cows. And so we started getting a little bit of comfort around that. And then one day we arrived and the cows were not there, and we're like, oh, holy shit, what the hell is going on? But we could hear the bell, so the lead cow, and I think at the time it was a lady cow, or just a cow, which is a lady, a bull is a male. Sorry, guys. Anyways, this cow, she had the bell, she was the leader, so we could hear the bell and said, okay, it's gone into the forest. But because I'd gone with my uncle, who was a few years older than I was, instead of considering the dangers, we just decided we're going to walk in and go and find these cows. So as we kept walking, the way the pastures were to eat, there was less trees, it was more clear, it was more of a plain rather than a forest. So we started venturing more into the forest. As we went as we went further forward in, the distances between the trees was getting shorter, and then there was vegetation really high. We're looking for these cows. We're like wondering, how is it that these cows have managed to get this far in? So kept going further and further until we sort of looked back and realized that we're so far into the forest that we couldn't see any of the open spaces. And we thought, oh, you know what, this is a bit scary. What if a leopard comes out here, or what if a hyena comes out here? We're absolutely food. So we decided we need to get out of here. So we could still hear the cows, but I thought, okay, let's go that direction. Possibly we might end up out of the forest, but we just kept going, and there was just forest everywhere. And we came up to this ant hill. So there's an ant hill. We looked at it and thought, oh, this is this ant hill. So we decided we're going to go one direction. So we started going this direction. Must have walked for about 45 minutes, and we found ourselves back at that entail, and I was like, what the hell is going on? So we marked the entail to make sure that maybe it's the same one or it's a different one. We started walking, and surely enough, we came back to that same entail, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? And we realized that there's something that we're doing wrong. How did we come back? And we kept going, walking like this. And I know you're already wondering, what does this story have to do with having the conversation? A lot of you guys, when have this conversation, that's the same thing. And that's the feeling that I was thinking that you guys are feeling, that you are within this forest. You're walking around trying to find a way out of this sexless relationship. But you keep coming back to the same place. And usually the same place is that, you are selfish, you're abusive, or which I heard recently with somebody, or all you want is sex, or you're a sex pervert, whatever it is, it's something that's negative, that's not putting you in the right direction, or at least taking you to the destination that you want. So it's about having this conversation in a way that doesn't put you into a place where you seem to be a pervert, but it also highlights on the issues that need to be addressed. Because a lot of times when you have this conversation, you guys are not addressing the real problem. You're talking about the sexless relationship as a macro part of the conversation, and then how it makes you feel as a micro of the conversation. So, this is how I feel. I'm depressed. I feel lonely. I feel unloved. And these are all these negatives that are happening because of what's going on, but never address collaborative what we need to do, or what are the next steps in order for us to move on. Because really you're saying, this is how I feel about this sexless relationship. I'm presenting this problem to you, and somehow I will need you to figure out how to fix it. And this is the reason why it never works, because all of a sudden she's like, I've got no idea what it means to fix it. And really, the issue is that I don't want to have sex, and I don't even know why I don't want to have sex. So again, this becomes a very difficult situation in terms of moving things steps forward. So I'm just going to give you 3 things that you need to focus on when you're having these conversations, because this will be key to changing everything. So the one thing that you need to be focusing on is, number 1, is sexual comfort. So you need to focus on sexual comfort. Babe, when you're having sex, I can understand the reason why you're not having sex is that you feel uncomfortable when I try and seduce you. When I try and touch you, you walk away. When we try and talk about it, it's very uncomfortable. I feel uncomfortable bringing up this conversation, but it's something that we need to do. And I know that right now you want to scream, you want to shout because I've brought this over and over again, but this is an opportunity for us to fix our relationship, because I don't feel like our relationship is going the direction that we want. And again, if you listen to other episodes, if she blames you for being a sex pest, you claim it, you own it. You say, yes, that's what I am. No, obviously not a sex pest, but yes, I value sex within our relationship, because it's the measure to show that our relationship is going the right direction, and therefore this is why it's important to me. So again, when you express this and you express that her feeling uncomfortable is an issue, and it's an issue that you're willing to address, the both of you, this is key, very powerful. Because when you address it and say, you know what, you're uncomfortable, I'm uncomfortable, the conversation is uncomfortable, sex is uncomfortable, how do we make it comfortable? What are the steps that we need to take to make this comfortable for you? And then it changes the dynamic of how you're working at it. Because all of a sudden, for the first time, she recognizes that she's uncomfortable and there's something that is preventing her from moving forward. And this is where things start coming up for her, okay? Why do I feel uncomfortable? She's not asking the right questions. She's not asking, why is this person bothering me? She's asking herself now, why is it that I'm not comfortable with having sex? Which changes the conversation. So again, that's number 1. Number 2, you then, because you've established that there's a problem, which is sexual comfort, you then start working on the plan of resolving the problem. So for example, as she comes up with the reason why it is, then you can talk about what's the plan that we can implement in order to frequently fix this. So what is the plan? How do we build consistency in resolving you being sexually uncomfortable? So I don't know what that means. It could mean that she works individually, or she works with you, or she works with a therapist. Whatever it is, you decide you're working on something where she's going to be consistent and she's working towards that goal. And again, it changes the conversation that you have with the therapist. I don't know what I say. I don't like marriage therapists, but people that work with people by themselves, especially with people that deal with trauma, those are very powerful people. So you go with that person and say, I've got some issues around sex and I want to figure out what that is and I want to fix that. It changes the conversation especially when she starts dealing with weekly with the counselor, it changes how she approaches sex and builds comfort around it. So again, this is another part. And then the last bit is getting it to prioritize the relationship. A lot of the things that you guys are going through in terms of fixing the relationship itself, and again, it ties into her going to the therapist or you dealing with it together, is then figuring out what is the time, when is the time that we're going to be doing this? Because it's all well and good saying sexual comfort is a problem and this is the plan that we have in order to fix it. But if you're not prioritizing and making time for it, then it's not going to work at all. So when you have this conversation and you've got this plan and you're laying out this plan and it becomes something that you're talking about and in collaboration as you're making it, it makes a whole different conversation and it becomes more impactful because, again, when I was there with my uncle, we'd gone round in circles. All of a sudden, we kept hearing the bell of the cow. And then, because it must have been the fact that we're now completely scared, it heightened the way we're listening. It heightened our senses in terms of listening. And we just honed in on that cow. And we just heard it and just kept getting louder as we were walking closer and kept getting louder. And luckily, the cow was eating or something because it kept making the noise. Because if he was laying down or just not making any movement, would have been completely screwed. So it kept on making the movement. So we could continuously hear it, continued going towards it. And fair enough, we ended up in an open place and we could figure out where we were and managed to get home that day. And again, we're so lucky because we had this thing to guide us. Now, it's very important that when you got something like this, and these three things are the guides that you need, so when you're having that conversation, it becomes effective. Now, if you've got any questions, come to thriving_tribesmen. Like I said, definitely by January next year, we'll be opening the slots for people to get it to join Reignited Men. It's been revamped. It's absolutely exciting because we're getting some incredible results. And some of the stuff that I've just taught you right now, we're going even deeper so we can sort of make it for your relationship and for your type of lady. Because again, there's 7 different types of ladies, and the way you approach this conversation is going to be different based on the lady that you're with. So again, this is where it becomes very interesting, especially when I'm speaking to you guys. The way I speak to one client and how they talk to their spouse is different to how they talk. So it becomes very valuable to come and speak to us. And again, when you come and speak to us initially on the Instagram, we're not trying to sell you anything. We're actually giving you a seduction blueprint. We hear about your relationship. We give you a blueprint. You go and try this out. And if you do execute and you're good candidate to join Reignited Men, will give you the opportunity to do so. So there's a selection process, but at the same time, we also give you stuff for free so we can see if you're the right candidate. At the same time, we will be opening slots. So again, don't miss out on these ones because the great part about Reignited Men is that once you join for the next few months when we're delivering the product, you have a slot from 30 minutes to an hour with me every single day. So we are iterating and changing your relationship every single day. We're working towards consistency. And this is very important. This process that I just laid out is the exact same process that I deal with you guys every day. How do we get better at building comfort? How do we build the consistency, you meeting me every single day? Then how do you prioritize now? I need you to prioritize the time to speak to me every single day so we can change your relationship. So again, it's a very important lesson for you guys. If you never come to Instagram, that's okay. If you've never joined Reignited Men, that's okay too. But I want you to implement this and be consistent with it. So even if your first conversation doesn't go well, you can come back and listen to this again, write down some notes, and then go and attack it again. And again, if you talk about sexual comfort, and then building consistency in terms of how you're going to attack it, and then just prioritizing the time for you to do so, it changes everything. So thank you very much, guys. I'll be seeing you guys soon. Take care.